A lot of business owners want funding, but they don't have a funding strategy. And that's dangerous because getting approved for money is not the same thing as using money the right way. You can get funded and still mess your business up if you don't have structure, cash flow, and a plan. What's good? It's your favorite businessman, CEO Rico, on Urban CEO Network, where we discuss real plays, real lessons, and real conversations. Make sure you lock in, subscribe, and drop a comment. Now let's jump into today's video. So today, we're not just talking about how to get business funding. That's too easy, right? We're talking about how to think like a business owner before you actually even apply. Today, we're under the business funding pillar, okay? And I want to talk about something that a lot of people skip over. Everybody wants the approval. Everybody wants the 25,000 to 50,000, all the way up to 150,000, right? And which I do get clients to that 150,000 mark for sure. But not everybody has a real plan for what that money is supposed to do. That's where business owners get in trouble, right? So funding should solve a business problem. It shouldn't just be something that you're just doing just to do, right? So business funding should not just be like money you grab because it's available. Funding should solve a problem or create an opportunity. That's really big. It should definitely create an opportunity. You need to know exactly why you need the money. So even when you go to like to the bank or whatever, they ask you, what do you need the money for? Just one of the reasons why they ask you these questions. So are you using it for marketing, inventory, equipment, payroll, cash flow, expansion, software, hiring, business startup costs, real estate investments, working capital? Like what you using it for? Because if you don't know what the money is for, you're already moving wrong. You don't want funding just to feel like you're doing something. You want funding attached to a real business move, right? So that's what separates a business owner from somebody chasing money. And it's real funny because that's one of the things that, like, from growing when I was younger to growing up, I started to transition that whole way of thinking because, we all say, oh, we out here chasing money and all like that. I wanted to completely change that. I don't want to chase money. I want money to chase me, right? Because it's like, why am I think of anything that you're chasing? It's trying to run away from you. You're chasing it. If you change the dynamic of it, where it's like, no, I'm not chasing money. I'm attracting money. So money is going to come find me. It changes the way you think, and then it also changes life, right? So number two, lenders are looking at like risk. Right, guys, I can go on and on about this, but a lot of people think that lenders are looking for a good story. I get on the phone, talk to clients, and they always have this long, drawn out story. And it's like, bro, nobody cares about that. And I'm not saying it in a bad way. You're supposed to have a business plan and all like that, but lenders are really looking at the risk. They want to know, can you pay this money back? Does your credit support the request that you're asking for? Does your business have a structure to it? Does your business have revenue? Do your numbers even make sense? Are you organized? Are you applying for the right product? That's where a lot of people mess up at. They want lender money, but their business looks thrown together. No business bank account, no clean business address, no professional email, no website, no clear revenue, no funding plan, no idea how much money they actually even need. Like, guys, come on, man. I've seen people literally on the internet give advice on businesses, and they say, go start you a LLC, go do this at this bank. Basically, like, your business doesn't even have to have income. No, now don't get me wrong. Some banks, some lending institutions, they do no-doc loans. They do. But they're looking at other factors with those no-doc loans. First and foremost, how's your credit score looking? If your credit score not looking at nothing, and then you also got to have some income that's also associated with it. How is that looking? If it's not looking like nothing, why are you sitting there wondering why the lender says no? Like, that's crazy. You got to understand that lenders do not just fund ideas. That's not how the banking institution works. They fund risks that they can understand. So your job is to make your business look organized, structured, and serious. And guys, of course, if you need assistance with that, you already know what to do. Go to the description, book a consultation. So let's talk about this. Your personal credit still matters, of course, right? Now you can go the route of, building like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, all the way to tier 4 when it comes to like building a business credit. But understand this, if you want to get into the business credit cards and things of that nature, you're going to have to make sure your personal credit is on point. Because they're going to do a personal guarantee. The industry itself has changed from during COVID. It's no longer credit cards. I don't know of any as of right now. There's no credit cards where they're doing just on the business only, like no personal guarantee. Even Sam's Club had it to where you can just do it straight out the business as long as you built up the business credit and everything the right way. That's now gone. They're making you PG, right? So that's the part that people don't really like. That like they don't even really like talking about personal credit or personal guaranteeing, but it's kind of like your personal credit matters significantly. Okay, yeah, the business credit can be on point, but there's going to be times and situations where you got to put the PG on there, especially if you are a startup business or a new business, right? So a lot of people say I want business funding, but I don't want them looking at my personal credit. Well, you got to think about it. It's their money, right? But if your business does not have strong business credit, strong revenue, or a long track record, the lender is going to look at you. It just only makes sense. Think about if you was in their shoes. Has to make sense. That means your personal credit profile matters, right? They may look at credit score, payment history, credit utilization, recent late payments, collection charge-offs, open accounts, debt load, recent inquiries. And I'm gonna tell you this too. See, a lot of people think that, oh, they could just go to like their bank to, get the necessary funds that they want. Like, oh, I don't need to go to no, funding specialist or nothing like that. Which by all means, you're absolutely right. You don't. But understand this. If you needed $100,000 for the business and you thought just because you had a 750 credit score that you was going to go get it, and you've been banking with, I don't know, Wells Fargo, and remember all the stuff Wells Fargo do or has done. Remember how they closed all those all those credit cards, and they just closed whether you had a balance or not, didn't matter. They closed it. You really think they're just going to give you $100 just because you got a 750 credit score? Think about it. So before you actually go apply, you need to know like what your credit looks like, right? Now, what you think it looks like, what it actually looks like, because a lot of people want funding, but they're not ready for what the lender is going to see. That's why positioning matters, right? But just going back to like with the 750 credit score, you need $100,000. Well, here's the thing. If you went to, let's say you went and got like 4 inquiries in like 2 days, and then one of the banks was actually going to offer you a higher limit, but you didn't know that they were inquiry sensitive. They don't like when you get up, let's say over 3 inquiries. So they're not even trying to give you anything, but yet you got another inquiry. But yet if you worked with a funding specialist, such as myself, you wouldn't get a hard inquiry on none of that. It would have been one soft pull. We'd have set you up to where it's like, okay, we can get you this amount over here, this amount over here, this amount over here. Is this a route that you actually want to go? Yeah, because I need the $100,000. Bet. One inquiry on each individual bureau. 3 inquiries, but it looks like it's only one on each. Bam, you in the door. And then if you really work on some serious revenue, we're not even talking about doing like no automated hookup or nothing. We talking about getting your actual profile to an actual VP banker and all like that, to where they're looking it over. They're doing a manual review to where it's like, all right, we're not about to give you just 100, let's get you like 250. 300, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you're doing a significant amount of revenue where it makes sense to get you to a actual person that can make that decision and they can get you a way higher amount. That's the reason on why you want to work with a professional, because we already got the resources and the connections, because this is what we do already, versus you just walking in there. It's like they don't have that connection with you. And especially the way the landscape of the whole bank industry is going now, they really only want to work with people who got like certain business relationships with them, right? Now, applying everywhere is not a strategy. Honestly, it's kind of stupid. I'm not even gonna hold you up. This is another major mistake that people make. People get denied by one lender, then they start applying everywhere. They apply at banks. They apply for credit cards. They apply for online loans. They apply for lines of credit. They apply for anything that says business funding. And now they have multiple inquiries, multiple denials, and no clear direction. That's not strategy, that's panic. So once again, before you apply, you need to understand what type of funding fits your situation. I got a few examples for you. If you are a startup, you may need startup capital options. If you have revenue, you may qualify for working capital. If you have flexible access to money, a line of credit may make sense. If you need to buy equipment financing may, make sense for you. If your credit is strong, business credit cards could be an option. If your credit is weak, you may need to fix your credit first, right? If your structure is just messy overall, you may need to clean that up before you actually apply, because not every funding product is for every business. This is why, once again, you need a plan. I'm going to keep hitting you on the head with this one, all right? You need a structured plan, because when you got structure, it just makes more sense, right? So number 5, cash flow determines if the funding helps or hurts. So getting approved is one thing for sure, but being able to handle the payment is another. This is where cash flow comes in at. Cash flow is simply the money coming in and going out of your business. If the payment on the funding puts too much pressure on your business, then the funding can become a problem. So before you can take funding, ask yourself, what is my monthly revenue? What's my monthly expenses? What payment can I actually handle? Realistically, will this funding help me make more money? Will this funding stabilize the business? And am I using the money with discipline? Because the wrong funding can hurt your business, but the right funding used correctly can help you grow. There's a difference. And the difference is your strategy. Okay. Once again, if you need to consult with somebody, hit the link below. I got a consultation right there waiting on you. Hop on the phone. We could have a quick conversation. Number 6, structure comes before funding, right? This is why I always talk about the foundation first. Because with a solid foundation, you pretty much can grow vertically, right? You can have a good business idea, but if the structure is off, the money is going to be harder to get. Just straight up, right? Of course, you want to know why. I'll break it down to you. But before you apply, your business should have the basics together, right? What does this include? That includes LLC or, proper business entity. So S corp, stuff like that. Business bank account, business phone number, professional email, business address, website or online presence, a clean business records, basic bookkeeping, clear funding purpose, and then understanding of your own credit profile, right? These things matter. Why? Because business funding is not just about the application. It's about how the business looks before the application is actually submitted. A lot of people want funding, but they don't have their business set up to look fundable. That's the part that you got to fix. You have to fix this part. Your business needs to look fundable, because why would the bank give money, especially $50,000, $100,000 to somebody that just looks unorganized, chaotic, don't have no real structure, don't have no revenue, don't have nothing? Like, the people that are saying these certain things online where it's just like, oh yeah, you can just get this money. Just ask yourself, why would a banking institution just give money to somebody who doesn't even fit the guidelines, when they have regulators that come in and look at their business, their books, and where the money is going, and they ask questions like, why is this money being sent out here, and this person can't even pay they can't pay. Are you stupid? Basically, I just thinking thinking like that. You know what I'm saying? So, just overall, like I always got to be real with you, right? Business funding is not magic. Remember, I told y'all, like, the one person or individuals online saying, if you got an LLC, you could do this. It's not I got an LLC, not give me 100 bands. No, it sounds good online, right? But that's not how serious funding works. If you want real capital, you got to make moves like a real business owner. All right. You got to know your numbers. You have to know your credit. You got to know your structure. You got to know what the money is for. You got to know how you're going to use it. Business funding without a plan is just debt with a nice title. We're trying to get away from debt. We're trying to be debt free, not in debt even more. I don't want people just getting into debt. I want people using capital to actually build. That's a big difference, okay? Now I got a bonus for you, of course. Before you apply for business funding, I want you to create a simple funding plan, okay? So make sure you write this down. Let me give you a second, or just pause it. Write these questions down, okay? How much funding do I need? What exactly will I use it for? How will this help my business grow, stabilize, or produce revenue? What monthly payment can I really afford? Is my personal credit ready for this move? Is my business structure clean, easy to understand? And what type of funding fits my actual situation? Okay. That simple plan can save you from bad offers, unnecessary denials, and emotional decisions, because the goal is not just to get approved. The goal is to use the funding correctly. Of course, get approved and then use it correctly, right? So here's the final thing what I'm gonna say, right? So the main message today is this: business funding is not just about getting money. It's about getting prepared. It's about structure. It's about the credit. It's about cash flow. It's about strategy. It's about knowing what move makes sense before you actually apply. Because when you use funding with no plan, the money can disappear fast. I know you watching. I know you've been in situations where you had a nice little bit of change. You went out there, you did whatever you did, and then you look back and you was like, bro, what do I have to show for all that money that's now gone? And it was nothing. Because I definitely have been there in life. And I know I'm not the only person. But when you use funding with structure, it can help you move your business forward. And that's really big. I want you to be profitable, prosperous. And you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, like, we're grown. Like, whether you got a family or not, like, you have people dependent upon you. So it's like you got to make these moves, because at the end of the day, business is already hard enough, right? So just make sure you stay on top of that, right? So that's the difference between chasing money and building with capital, all right? So if you're trying to get business funding, startup capital, business credit, or you just don't know what type of funding options make sense for your situation, once again, book a 15-minute consultation with me. The link is in the description below. Let's look at where you are. Let's look at your structure. Let's look at your credit. Let's look at what you're trying to do and see what next step actually makes sense for you, okay? The goal is to stop guessing and to start with a real plan. Guys, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and I'll get at y'all later. Peace.